Hi there, this is Justin Krane, certified financial planner, professional, and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. How can you be congruent with your money? How? By making financial decisions that align with your values. I love that. Totally, right?
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
What's up, everybody? This is Justin Krane. Welcome to an amazing show of Money You Got This. This show is brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions. I'm Justin Krane. I'm a certified financial planner professional, and we here offer investment management services and act as a fractional CFO to dentists and business executives. I'm also the author of the book, Money You Got This. It's time to merge your money with your life. You guys ready? Let's do this. So today, I have someone who I've been following for a while, not necessarily stalking, but like following, you know, like looking what she's saying and all that kind of stuff because she's in the dental space. Today, her name is Heidi Mount. Heidi is a coach for dentists. And one of the things that she wants to do for you dentists out there is to have you make $500 more a day starting right now, like not in 10 years, right now. I know it's the next day, but whatever, but we're going to get into that. So welcome, Heidi. It's great to have you on. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. So how did you, let's just first start off, I asked this to all of the people that come on, like, how did you get into working with dentists? What is it about dentists that really attracts you?
Too funny. Well, I was a little kid, and apparently I told my dentist when I was 3 years old that I wanted to become a dentist. So when I was 18, he asked me what I was going to college for, and I told him dental. And so got into dentistry in every which way. Didn't go to dental school, but always kind of had that passion. So decided to work as an assistant. I was licensed in a couple states, expanded function dental assistant, and then I became an office manager, and then I was consulting all over. So wow. Yeah, I don't know. I am fascinated with dentistry. I'm married to a paramedic, so it's kind of funny. We just can eat and talk gore while we're eating. It's no big deal. We just love it.
I love that. So you were a dental assistant and then an office manager.
Correct.
And then did you decide to just start your own business, or did you do it on the side, or what?
While I was working, I was helping lots and lots of office managers and dentists. So technically I was consulting all along while I was working, and, they'd be giving me Starbucks cards and what have you, pay me on the side. Yeah. So I sort of did it on the side. And then my dad worked extremely hard his entire life. He wasn't a dentist or anything, but he did pass away right at retirement. And that put a bug in me to go, you know what, I'm always helping the offices that I'm working in or that are around me. And there are a lot of people out there that can't afford an in-office consulting and this and that. So I thought, with all this technology, why don't I just consult dentists all over the world? So I decided to become a virtual coach to help more people.
Did you leave your job cold turkey and then just make the transition into coaching?
Well, I had let her know that I was, venturing out, and waited about 4 years. And so I had my eye out and sort of spread the rumor I'm looking for a replacement, but I was kind of picky about who could take over the practice because I had been there 13 years. Yeah. So finally I found somebody that I thought was super awesome. I trained her, and then I resigned. So they knew I was on my way out. So yeah.
Wow, that must have been a big move for you, because I had one of those too. Mine was at 10 years. Yours was 4. Mine was 10 years where I just didn't do it. Finally, I did it, and it's such a great feeling to do it. And don't you look back and you're like, man, why didn't I do that earlier?
I certainly kick myself all the time for that.
Yeah, so I want to touch on this for a second, because you made this change that it's just like a decision. It's a quick decision. It's like a reframe of what you want to do. And I'm sure that when you're coaching dentists, all it really is one decision and then follow through an action. But sometimes the brain doesn't make decisions quickly or doesn't own the decision that it needs to make to get us to that next level. So how do you actually get someone who's resistant to make a change for their own benefit to actually do it?
Well, I mean, like you said, it is mindset, and your dreams have to be bigger than those fears that are stopping you from what you're doing. So even when it comes to, okay, let's say their biggest problem, it's going to be the employees, right? So a lot of them are too fearful to let someone go, and they're willing to live with that frustration of what they have, but they're not going to get to where they want to go if they don't take action. So when they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then they'll do something. I don't force them to do anything.
So as a fractional CFO, I see a lot in terms of like cash and profitability that like, is it just, it's not where the dentist wants it to be. And then they're thinking about selling the business at some point in time. And the business is not worth what they want it to be worth based on these metrics. And one of the biggest things is this staff to gross profit or sales ratio. And I see that that number begins to creep up. And then we begin to talk about the staff. And then they have this issue, which you're talking about, is like, oh, I really need to let this person go. They're not right, and blah, blah, blah. And if they did that and hired the right person, I think their sales would, you know, grow and their profits would grow and all that. But I want to come at it from the mindset, because when you're talking about how they're fearful of letting someone go, why do you think they're afraid to let someone go? What is that block that's preventing them from actually just doing it?
Correct. So the number one reason they give me is they're afraid that they won't find another person to replace them.
So what do you tell them?
I tell them they're out there. I said, you know, you can be talking to a waitress or anybody that has an absolutely amazing personality, and we can train them. You don't need to know dentistry to work in dentistry. It's easily trainable. You hire for attitude.
Ooh, I love that. I love that, because you're big in systems, which I want to talk about. But if you create a system for your employees, whether they're a front office manager or a scheduler or whatever, and they follow that system, isn't it kind of just plug and play with the right attitude?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, we don't sell dentures and things like that and say, oh, we have this double abutment, blah, 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 you know, and use all this dental term. We use third grade language, which means anyone can learn it.
I love that. Anyone can learn anything in dentistry. I mean, isn't that just amazing? So let's get a little bit deeper into like systems, because I think that a lot of the dentists, they get into business to just do the clinical side, but then they realize as they start making money that they have to deal with the money. And a lot of times the money is a result of the lack of systems. So why do you think dentists don't have systems to begin with? And then I'll ask you my second part, but why don't they have the systems in place?
Sure. So, well, dentists go to dental school to become dentists. So they know how to drill and take care of their patients. They don't know how to train their team or run a business. I mean, that's just not taught in dental school. So without getting help, a lot of them, you know, are like, oh my gosh, I'm certainly not going to pay $10,000 or $50,000 or even $100,000 for some consultant to show me how to run the business. And they're just shooting themselves in the foot, because by the time they get to me at 1 year and 20 years down the road, where are we going to have to begin with the systems? And so if everybody has clear defined roles and knows their key metrics to turn into the doctor and knows where to focus, they're going to grow so much faster exponentially, hopefully.
Yeah. So when you're a consultant and you have a recommendation on this system and you want the dentist to actually implement it and all of that, there's got to be a way that you can teach, like you create the system, but you have to teach the system to this dentist and have this dentist actually implement it and then follow through on it. So how do you teach the system so that it gets implemented?
Exactly.
You're smiling. I must have this must be a great question. Everybody who's listening in, I have not yet mentioned that Heidi is wearing a necklace that's worth like $4 billion, and she's got great teeth. All right, keep going.
I love it. Yep, I bought it at the grocery store. So we are, dentists have a hard time with leadership. They're great at being a boss, and they basically say, fill the schedule, schedule a goal, do all this, do all that. But literally, the team needs to be shown how to do it. And so I work with the teams, and some consultants will come into the office and different things and train. But really, you have to train according to their personality, their skill level, and what they're willing to do. And a lot of times we have people doing the wrong task. So every office has to be customized. You have to figure out who's going to be best at doing what, because what happens is you'll have a front desk person who is supposed to collect the money or this or that, and they act like a shark, and then the patients leave and don't come back.
Yeah.
So we've got to actually, record and measure and evaluate what is going on, because when they sit there and say, everybody's buying my treatment, and then you run reports and you're like, no, only about 20% of your patients are actually scheduling and doing what you say, because they might even say, no, my case acceptance rate is 70%. And you look at the schedule, okay, they're in the schedule, but did they actually show up for the appointment? There's a whole nother thing to measure. So looking at numbers, you've really got to track every little system to find out where it's broken and what needs to be improved.
So who tracks all of these little numbers in these little systems? Is that something that you're doing for the client, or you're teaching the staff to do and then report back to you and your client?
What I do is I train, I'm good at diagnosing the practice and where the trouble spots are. And then we train on that. In my situation is I have the staff report to the doctor. What happens is the doctor's constantly asking questions. What's going on with the schedule? What's going on with this account? What's going on with this patient? Whatever. And I don't feel the doctor should have to micromanage. So everybody's given a specific key metrics to report into the practice, whether it's done during the morning meeting or monthly meeting. It's all set up to what's going to grow the practice. If you have a practice that's getting tons of Google reviews all over the place, then why would I want to measure that? They're doing great at it. Let's pick something else that's going to grow the business, because they're already doing that well. See what I mean? So you've got to, what do they need to get their business going in the right direction? Sometimes, for as far as you being accounting and all that, you would want to be analyzing their PPOs. Which ones are making them write off 50%. If their overhead 70%, 75% or so, why would you want to write off 50% of your fees, accepting that insurance? It makes no sense at all.
Yeah. Do you think that the dentists, like their biggest revenue potential is actually in this case acceptance that you're talking about? Or do you think it needs to be more like a diversified stream of income from doing is Invisalign, dentistry, normal stuff? What do you think is the low-hanging fruit for the dentist?
Well, first, I think they should be doing what they're passionate about. If they don't like doing root canals, they shouldn't have to do them. If they love doing Invisalign, then great, do that. But market your business in a way that you gain your ideal clients, patients, and you are doing what you love to do with the hours you want to do it in. As far as profit, that comes from, you've got to know your numbers. You've got to know how much you need to make per hour and how you're going to get there. So a big part of that is the scheduler. How do they schedule the appointment to schedule it to goal? And then making sure they collect on what's past due and present due. So you're not becoming a bank and loaning to all your patients with a big accounts receivable that gets to 90 days and now your chance to collect is probably 17%. So, there's a lot to look at when you are trying to build a practice, but it's all profit per hour. You must know your profit per hour. And I think just getting patients to say yes to your very best is a skill. Because what most dentists are doing is just, open your mouth, look around, here's a cavity. And that's about as far as we're going with discussing treatment with patients. And that's not our job to go find work to do. There's way more to it than that.
I'm with you. So profit per hour, we take the profits for the month or whatever, we divide by the amount of hours or that are available to see patients, and that's our profit per hour.
Well, we would call it production per hour.
Production, okay,
but you'll
got it.
know how much profit you want to make. If you know that your overhead 70%, then that means for every $100 you make, you're only making 30, right?
Yep.
So they need to know how to make the $800 or $1,500 an hour that they want to make.
So do you also look at, it sounds like you look at production per day as well, right?
I look at it per year, per month, per day, per hour. Yeah,
Got it. So when the dentist, let's just look at production per day. If the dentist, let's say their goal is $5,000 a day, whatever it is,
right.
And all of a sudden they're doing like 3,000, 4,000, they're really never getting to 5,000. At what point do they need to make a pivot? Like how often should they look at this number? And who should be telling them this? I know you can get it from software and all that stuff, but like at some point, if they're not hitting their goal of what their production needs to be, are they able to determine what they need to do to get there? Who needs to hold them accountable? Where do you come in? Is it the staff? I'm in the trenches with this stuff, and I think it's everyone, but I'm curious your perspective on that.
Right. Well, the dentist has to hold them accountable. We need to find people who can get the job done. So if he or she wants to schedule $5,000 a day, that needs to be done. So there's a lot of systems that need to be in place, but what I see happen a lot, so I'll tell you the mistakes that are very, very common. The biggest reasons why I see that dentists do not reach their goals is from poor scheduling. For example, you're going to do one filling and somebody plops it in for an hour and they're going to make $200 on that filling. Well, they really only need 30 minutes. And so now we have open wasted time in the schedule. Or they schedule everybody that needs a root canal for an hour and a half when root canals don't take an hour and a half on every single person. You may have one person that the crown's already off. You may not understand all this, but the people listening might.
Yeah.
But the crown's already off, they have a root canal, and their chart notes say they don't need any anesthetic. So why are we not scheduling just 30 minutes, right? So all these minutes add up. Or another big mistake I'll see is, let's say you have an opening from 8 to 10, and they take that filling person and put them at 8:30. Now I've got 30 minutes prior, hour after, and now I can't put my 2-hour great productive patient there because there's one patient in the middle of a big opening. So there has to be rules and training on how you schedule to make it very precise. And then what happens is the back office is saying, we don't have enough time. They're dragging the appointment down. The doctor's shortening the appointment. The front desk, there's all this war going on.
Yeah.
So there has to be a way to guarantee what we're supposed to be scheduling and when. And
I love that.
It's diagnosing. You've got to figure out where the problem is, and then you have to have a system to solve the problem so people can't get away with that.
So you have all of this experience in working with dentists and working in the front office and, starting out. And how do you stay on top of all of the changes that are going on in dentistry? How do you actually like to learn? What are you reading? How do you stay on top of everything? How do you make time for delivering the service to your clients, yet staying on top of the new stuff that's coming out?
Yeah, so two things here. What I teach is mostly people skills, so that's never going to change, right? All the technology in the world, sales skills, training your team, all of that's never going to change. That's why I picked that field, is because it's very important. A robot can't replace us.
Sure.
And people need it. But as far as, it's funny because I tell my husband, I said, I feel like I spend more time, like I'm in college at all times. I'm listening to podcasts and listening to what other people are saying and doing. And I'm always analyzing, that's a good idea, that's not a good idea, or whatever, that won't work. Or but yeah, I'm always, reading books and educating myself. Even for myself, I'm not really a kind of stage speaker, that type of thing, but I get asked a lot. So I'm having to learn how to present on stage.
How's that going for you?
We'll see. I've got a couple big events coming up next month. And so I'll be speaking at Dental Town, the Townie 2019. And then I'm at Dental Win-Win in Texas.
Yeah.
So over the next month, I have a couple gigs going on, and yeah, you learn to love and grow. And
I think they're going to be great for you. I think speaking is a big stepping stone. It's a great, way to help people market yourself and all that kind of stuff. Are these your first big speaking gigs?
My first one was at Delivering Wow in Jamaica.
Anissa.
So we
Yeah,
were there, I think there was about 300 dentists there or so. It was very fun.
that's cool.
Yeah, it was really awesome event.
That's awesome. So learning, speaking, implementing, this is all great stuff. Let me ask you another question because I think the dentists and other consultants and just business owners can learn from you and what your answer is. So how do you, as a consultant, maintain resilience in your field? How do you stay fresh and continue to grow?
Um, I have a clear vision on who my clients are, and I do my best to attract only those. So I enjoy my job.
Yeah,
Um, I just, I can only be me, and there's
yeah,
plenty of dentists for everyone to
sure.
help,
Hmm.
plenty of offices. And I think, you just really got to find the right consultant that you relate to and that
Hmm.
they can help your staff. Because let's face it, the staff isn't really listening to the dentist. So that
Yeah.
you actually have to get them some continuing education and get them some help so they can serve you.
Hmm. What about like exercise, meditation, diet, like keeping yourself refreshed? Do you do any of that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What are you into?
Well, I'm into clean eating. I do take some, what's it called? Isogenics shake
Yeah,
now and then, especially
yeah.
if you skip a meal, you can get some calories and stuff. I go to the gym. We cycle. We'll be moving here soon, so I'll be kayaking with dolphins pretty soon and doing the outdoor life on an island pretty soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I forgot to ask you this as a consultant. Is it just you and your business? Do you have a team with you? Do you bring people in when you need them? How does that work?
I know. I've gone round and round about that. I have employees that work for me to gain me back some time, but my consultant or my clients want me as the consultant. So they, if they want to make sure they're getting me. So at this time, I am the one training and coaching the dentists and their teams.
So Heidi, we're talking about dentists that have this vision of like at some point they want to like sell and get like a gazillion dollars. And then they just think they could hit some button and like monetize it, but they're really not aware of what's happening up to the point of them wanting to sell. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So most dentists that are phasing out, whether retiring or frustrated and tired of working so hard, most of them start working less or stop caring about the business, and then their numbers drop. And so it's really, really important that if you are thinking about leaving the practice, whether selling, retiring, cutting back, whatever you want to do, make sure your numbers don't decline. You need to have your numbers go up, up, up. No one wants to buy a business that is dropping in numbers. We need to have the collections be up every single year.
So what if collections are up, but expenses are higher than what the collections are? So the profits are going lower. Do you see that at all?
Well, when I see that, it's usually the doctors mixing personal and business
Mhm.
expenses. If the numbers are good, the person buying is going to look at what the bills cost, the actual fixed bills, and then what they're collecting. And so if they see that they have the possibility of collecting that, a lot of dentists are smart enough to crunch their numbers and get the overhead improved, whether, analyzing that person spending way too much on SEO or whatever. But anybody can set a budget and stick to a budget and make more money. But those that just purposely like work less or don't follow up with their patients or stop diagnosing because they want the next dentist to do it and things like that, that really hurts the sale of the practice.
So it's the collections over, let's say, what, a 3 to 5 year period of time, and that path, and I guess the degree of consistency and growth before the dentist sells is very important.
It's very important. And
Cool.
another thing that dentists do is they stop inactivating patients. And then they think, oh, it's going to be a large patient number and people will want it because it's a large patient number. But people are smart enough now. They run reports and see when the last patients were in the past 18 months and things like that. So be sure to keep your patients active. Follow up with them, get them scheduled. You want as many patients active as possible, and that's going to help your numbers.
That was a massive nugget. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Where can someone go to learn more about you and connect with you?
Absolutely. I have a couple ways. The coachingdentist.com, they can grab 10 secrets on how to increase revenue on tomorrow's schedule. There's printout. They'll just get that if they go to that website. My full website's Coach Heidi Mount, Heidi, Mount, MOUNT. .com, and they can reach me there. I have a actual free coaching page on Facebook. You have to search for it and ask to join. And that is called Coaching with Heidi Mount. So they can find me there too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think that you've given a lot of the people out there, because I've watched you, and we haven't even talked about scuba diving, but I'm not going to bring up scuba diving. But the stuff that you have is really, really good. From my takeaway, it's very, very simple, yes, what you're teaching, but sometimes it's just even that hard, right, to even implement the simple systems that you're teaching. And I know your clients have gotten results in working with you. So everybody listening, go over to the websites that Heidi mentioned. We'll have them in the show notes. And thanks again for coming on. Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.